The big tip I'll give there is go on your website, look at your homepage, and look at how many times you write the word we versus the word you. And just do that tally. If your website is skewed towards we messaging, then you probably need to story brand your website.
So for our last episode of 2024, we wanted to cover the biggest trends that worked, what didn't work, as well as what we see working in 2025. My name is Moby Siddiq and I'm joined by Linda. Linda, I'm surprised you're here. You were on a boat last night and somehow you're here.
I rolled out of bed like 10 minutes ago just to make it here, Mobs. I'm joking.
So she was at a partner's Christmas party and honestly, it was a 50-50 chance that she was going to be. So it's good to see you, Linda. I'm glad
nice
you're
to be
here.
here.
Cool. So in this episode, we'll be sharing a whole bunch of data and statistics. So if you're listening to the audio version and you want to see what I'm sharing, visit redpandas.com.au/EP176. So the first thing, this thing just does not want to die. It keeps coming up again and again. Story brand. Linda, talk to us about StoryBrand and why does it keep coming up with clients again and again?
Probably because we love StoryBrand. So if you haven't heard of StoryBrand, it's a framework by Donald Miller. We refer to it in most calls with clients, to be honest. Yeah, it's one of those things, Mobs, that just always comes back. In terms of like bang for buck, we always find that StoryBrand just delivers. So it's a messaging framework, aims to rectify two big mistakes that most businesses or marketers make, and that's that they don't make the customer the hero in their messaging, and they cause their prospects to burn too many calories trying to understand what it is that they offer. Now, like your biggest real estate space, if you will, where you can update your messaging for StoryBrand is on your homepage. But yeah, having a look at what are the pages on our website that our consumers visit most often, and is our messaging resonating with those people? Because we've all been there, we've all done the tab test when we're consumers, and whatever website talks to us and communicates the problem that we're experiencing the quickest is most likely going to keep us on their website scrolling. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's, it's your own IP, it's your website, rather than going out and investing more money. What can you do with the people that are already on your website to capitalize on them better?
Yeah.
It's one thing we always work on.
It reminds me of, I think a lot of industries, and probably one of the biggest mistakes or opportunities that a lot of brands make is their website doesn't cut through. It's just like a Me Too version of whatever your industry is.
Yeah.
I'm speaking to a contact in the IT space, cybersecurity space. So shout out to them. I'll share this video with them. But when we look on, and he's told me himself, he's like, our website sucks. Because I speak to him and he spoke to me about we're cybersecurity experts and we're doing this and we're doing this. And, we have this capability. And then I go on the website and I'm like, it doesn't talk about this at all. It's very, very generic. You don't have one person on the page. You barely have any logos or testimonials. Who do you cut through to? So you said a good point earlier, like it's actually talking to them. And things like, do you struggle with this? Do you have this particular issue? What if it could look? So if you're telling a story,
oftentimes like businesses, they want to appear smart, they want to appear authoritative in their industry, and they typically do that by going down the route where they use all this industry jargon, and the actual consumers don't know what they're talking about, and that's the case with that industry, right? IT, websites written by someone in the industry understands IT. Their consumer is not going to understand what it is they're talking about or what it is they offer.
Yeah, we always say at Red Pandas, be clear, not clever. You might have some creative word for onboarding or some really cool tagline, so yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
So I think we've done a lot of episodes on this. We'll link in the show notes as well. We've specifically done an episode on StoryBrand. It's one of those things, if you feel like your website isn't cutting through and it's not talking to a particular persona and not sort of saying, if you need this, or you have this particular issue, we can help. And it just seems generic and it's all about you as the business, not the problems of the person, and you're not a guide in that story, then StoryBrand is definitely something you should look at.
The big tip I'll give there is go on your website, look at your homepage, and look at how many times you write the word we versus the word you, and just do that tally. If your website is skewed towards we messaging, then you probably need to story brand your website.
Yeah, it's such a good point. Like think about it yourself when you're buying. What would resonate with you? Like we're so good. We. Yeah, maybe a little bit, of course, and there's a time and place for that.
Yeah.
But like, what about you? How does it solve your problems, your issues? So yeah, spot on.
Beautiful.
The next one, we bang the table on this, and we'll keep banging the table on this because the data is not telling us to do anything otherwise. But the second one is 3 articles per week. And on my screen, and you've seen this graph as well, Linda, on my screen, I'm sharing a slide where for a particular client of ours, in January 2024, this is a screenshot from HubSpot, they had 2,400 organic visitors. By the way, last year when we started working with them, I think they had a couple of hundred. It was in the hundreds. But we're just looking at this year, right? And then in October, last time we had the data for this, it was 11,200. So like a 4 or 5x improvement in organic for a brand that was already getting 2,000 traffic.
Yeah. And when we started with them, they had like 200 monthly
sessions. Right, it was 200.
Yeah.
And they failed their Google Core Web Vitals scores.
Just summarized.
They actually fail that. So the tools that SEO people are like, oh, you fail your Google Core Web Vital scores or whatever. Google, like, man, if your content is good, that will trump everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've had clients even 3 articles, you have to have someone dedicated in the business doing that. And we absolutely believe in content marketing strategy and always advocate for that and for that role in a business. Let's say that your business can't do that. I have still seen results with 2 articles per week, even to the point of 1 article per week. If the content is really, really good. Now, you're not going to experience like hockey stick growth with 1 article per week. It's just not possible.
You won't see these results.
It's the cadence of consistent 3 articles per week that gets you that ridiculous growth that we see here. But we've had clients this year, Mobes, where we've done 1 article per week, but it's a really good article where we're talking to their sales reps and we're really understanding the business to be able to produce that content for them. And we're seeing in their CRM, they use HubSpot. We're seeing in their CRM that these articles now are becoming the 2nd, 3rd most popular website pages out of all their pages on their website, bar the homepage, of course, but they're actually outranking product and service pages on the website. In addition to that, we're seeing the people that are clicking on these articles are actually leaving their details and they're becoming deals in HubSpot. So there's this huge power of content marketing there. If you can't go straight to that cadence, that's okay. Like, start small, talk to your sales team internally, understand what it is your prospects care about, and share that educational information on your website.
Yeah, spot on, bang on. I think it's one of those things like as consumers, and it makes sense, right? Think of yourself as a consumer. We all want the price. That's what we want. We want the price. We want to know who we're working with. We want to know, things like that. And why do you expect your customers to be any different with your website? They're going to be exactly the same as you, but we get a little bit shy with that. So yeah, it's something you can, check out the Ask You Answer. It talks about it, implement it yourself. You could get a coach like us who can help train your team internally, and we also do it for clients as well. But the key thing is get on this path.
Yeah,
that's for sure. And this links with a couple other things we're going to talk about. So the next one is cost articles, right? So exactly to Linda's point, you're talking, Linda, about like if you remove the homepage, it ends up being the most popular website pages. I'm sharing a screenshot of our own data, but over a particular period. And you can see after the homepage, HubSpot pricing, it's the number 1. Then you like number 3 is something else. Number 4 is about us, and we've spoken about us as well. And then number 5 is how much do Facebook ads cost. And there's another one here, Red Panda's pricing. So if you look at the top 10 at any particular given time, there's at least 3 or 4 based on costings, pricing. And by the way, with cost and price, it's not just how much your products or services cost. It could be something that's adjacent. So if you're a construction company and you do, like say you do project management part of construction, there'll be sort of input costs as well, or like, what are they called? Fixtures or fittings and things like that, facades or whatever, right? Like the cost of things that are adjacent to your industry as well. Those are costs as well. You can talk about those.
There are safe ways to be able to write about costs of what your business offers, whether it's a product or a service. You don't have to go straight to here's a table with an itemized list of everything that we do and everything that it costs.
That's right.
You can talk about a bracketed number, like what makes the cost go up, what makes the cost go down. Explain those factors. Ranges. Things that you would be typically talking about in a discovery call, your sales team would be talking about in a discovery call. Imagine if those people are rocking up to that already having self-educated with the cost article on your website, and they're already clear as to what makes your price go up or down, what your competitors charge, what you charge. Imagine how much more ahead in the sales process they're going to be and how much shorter that call is actually going to take.
It takes the pressure off the salespeople and it moves them further down the pipeline 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. The other report that I'm sharing on my screen, and again, this is if you have a HubSpot and or maybe, I'm sure you can do it in Salesforce. I remember saying Salesforce at the HubSpot office, and everyone was like, shh, don't say Salesforce. It's like Voldemort, he who cannot be named, right? Maybe you can do it in Salesforce, whether you can or not, power to you if you can. I'm sure you could figure out a way. But with HubSpot, I'm sharing a report here where it's got, a page report connected to the money, connected to the revenue. So Red Panda's dash pricing for this particular time period, we can see that it closed a $30,000 deal. Next one, Red Panda's pricing, we can see that it closed another $9,000 deal. And we can actually attribute it directly to the deal and the customer, which is pretty cool stuff.
Very cool.
Cool. All right, moving along. And it's really funny how a lot of these actually are all interrelated and linked. The fourth one is being an AI-powered marketer. So I might start with Linda, getting you to talk about Luca, who's in your team, and how he is very much so an AI-powered marketer.
Yeah, absolutely. We've renamed him in Slack to LucaBot because he really is just our internal ChatGPT. He's an absolute gun. The amount of stuff that he produces every single week is just not possible if he wasn't powered by AI. Just to kind of give context to that. So Luca does 3 articles per week. He does a fortnightly newsletter. He handles all of our social media. He puts out all the content from both podcasts that we have here at Red Pandas. And then he works on side projects as well. Like he's just released an AI course. So all of this is absolutely not possible without the help of ChatGPT. And he's gotten really, really good at understanding those learning models to be able to get them to not waste his time. Because I think that's the problem that a lot of people experience. And you have to get over that hump at the beginning to be able to really then buy back some of that time that you spent trying to learn the model and figure out what output actually works. But if you can get over that initial learning period and understand what's a good prompt and how do I best prompt it and how do I best respond, it can exponentially reduce the amount of time that you take on the things that you're doing.
Well, also, he's been on the show at least a couple of times, and he did a few very practical episodes on how to use ChatGPT specifically. So we'll definitely link those in the show notes as well, redpandas.com.au/EP176. That's right, 176. And a lot of it's if you're doing something once, create a custom GPT, create your version of ChatGPT that you can just feed that and, get that done. So we do that all the time. We'll pump out video scripts, podcast topics, whatever, in 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
But we spent the time building the GPT. And stay tuned. So we actually did, Luca did the AI course to a class. He did 2 cohorts this year. We got great feedback, and we are turning it into a course next year. So visit the website, subscribe to our newsletter, and I'm sure once it goes live, you guys can sign up for that as well.
What I would say with the AI stuff is if you're not used to using AI or you still haven't dabbled in it, I'd probably look to the thing that you do in your role the most, what's the most repetitive task that you always do, and see if you can integrate AI into making that quicker for you. So rather than starting a brand new project and trying to come up with something really left field and amazing, just do what you're doing currently quicker with AI. Start there.
Yeah.
Whether that's content using ChatGPT, great, but there's so many other AI tools out there. We use so many internally, we've got video, Descript for video. We use Midjourney for images, AI-powered images. There's so many different things out there. So think about your role, think about what you're currently doing, what you do the most, and then try and get AI integrated into that.
Absolutely. Get started somewhere, 100%.
Yeah.
Cool. So the final one, content as a sales signal. Now, this was really interesting because this just happened last week with Tasha. This happens every so often. We hear it as well. People will say that hey, Linda, I want to create a automation where when people are visiting my website, it lets the salespeople know. Very common. Happens all the time, right? Especially if people have marketing automation, they know how marketing automation works. The thing is, you need to feed whether it's HubSpot or Salesforce, you have to feed that, right? People aren't just going to go, of course they will. They'll go on your homepage. They might go to your product page. We spoke all these things we spoke about today. Most of them actually link together. Your pricing page, but if you don't have the content, what are they going to visit, right? So I got a couple examples. So this one, you don't need to see my screen for this, but I'll verbalize it anyway. I've got a screenshot of HubSpot here, and you can see on, what's that date? On, sometime in November, the client viewed what is an AI policy, right? And how you can develop one for your own company. Because we have a lot of content. We do 3 articles per week. Then how to use HubSpot Breeze AI. So clearly already from 2 interactions, I can already see that this person's heavy in AI. They're looking at AI policies. They're looking at a template for AI policies. They're looking at HubSpot Breeze AI. So what do you think I'm going to talk about when I speak to this person? You know, I just have to like drop that, and that's going to be a positive trigger, or maybe negative, but you know, it's going to be some sort of trigger to talk about, right? Then they go on our website, then they visit our pricing page, then they do a whole bunch of things. So the thing is, this wouldn't have been possible if we didn't have the content. And the client, when I spoke to the client, this is on a story, true story, happened a few weeks ago. She's like, oh, I've done a lot of research on you guys. I've seen what you guys do. It's really, really impressive. This was the first call.
Wow.
They came through referral. They did their due diligence, but we had these things that they could actually latch onto. So if you don't have that, you don't have anything to fuel that. And the last example I'll share here is HubSpot versus Voldemort, HubSpot versus Salesforce, an article. We actually had a client presentation, as you know, Linda, end of client year event, and we shared this example. And what I said was, the moment I'm in a sales process and someone says, because we sell HubSpot, we onboard HubSpot, the moment they say Salesforce, the average sales rep would be like, oh, no, that's bad. Right? Or they might try to be clever. I'm like, oh yeah, it's okay. It's okay if you need ABC, but we do XYZ. It's not bad. You know, they're still taking the high road. But what's better than that? What's better than that is giving someone a resource, a piece of content that is authentic and not biased.
Yeah.
And that's the key. It has to be non-biased. So this HubSpot versus Salesforce article that I send to clients anytime, or prospects rather, anytime they mention Salesforce, or we're looking at Salesforce, or maybe they're on Salesforce and they want to leave, I send them this, and it's authentic because people have read this and said, oh, you know what, based on my needs, Salesforce is actually better. Great. I don't want that client anyway. That client, no offense, like it's not like, oh, it's you, it's me. It's not one of those. It's like, we don't want to take that client because that's a production problem.
Yeah.
The team's going to have issues because Salesforce was a better option, right? But for the most part, this actually ends up being really, really, really positive.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, because we've got HubSpot, we can see that people are sharing it. We can see that they're opening it. We can see it when they visit. But final thoughts on yourself from that particular tip.
Mobes, I have a question for you, because we often get this question asked, definitely from clients that are starting to use information like this in the first time. So I guess the question we typically get is that they've got all this data in their CRM, right? And some of the times they're not using it, right? They're still going through their sales process. They're picking up the phone and they're not actually spending a second to look at that data and go through and see what the prospect has been looking at. How do they use that to their advantage then? How does that look, Mobes?
How do they use that data to their advantage?
Yeah, because I think for us, right, in marketing, we could almost get away with saying, you know, I noticed that because it's to our advantage, right?
Yes.
Because we actually sell the software. So it works for us. But of course, if they were to do that, it would look quite strange. Like it'd feel really invasive. So how do they actually use that to their advantage in the sales process?
There's two parts there that come to mind. So, you know, you're talking about how, like, you know, if they visited a page in marketing, you're right. Because if we're selling HubSpot, it's to our advantage. We can say, hey, by the way, you know how you're looking at HubSpot and you know how it kind of tracks pages? Well, look at your contact record. I can see what you visited. 100% we can do that. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Our clients can't do that. That just becomes really creative on how you bring it up. So for example, you know, if I'm talking to this person and I checked out I'm speaking to her and we're speaking about, say it's not HubSpot, it's an accounting software, you know, whatever. But I can see she visited 2 pages on AI. I might be like, yeah, you know, by the way, there's some really strong AI features. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they feel like, oh my God, this person just knows me. Or you could be really creative and say something like, you know, I find that, you know, people in your situation, what's common is to have some considerations around AI and AI policies. You know what I mean?
Being creative in the conversation.
It's like, hey, Linda, I know like someone in your position, normally, you know, you're looking at budgets, you're looking at this, right? There might be 10 things I think I could fill that in. But if you visited my website and I've got content as the fuel, which is what we're talking about, I can just talk about those things.
Yeah.
So there's that. From a more macro strategic level, the best place to start with this sort of stuff is, because you want signals. Like going back to the problem I started with, clients like, okay, how do I use content, you know, and that salespeople know. Well, the best thing you should do, it doesn't matter what system you have, is look at your closed won businesses in your CRM and then look at the commonalities there. So things like how many pages on average do they visit? Things like how many phone calls are made, how many meetings are had, whatever data you have accessible to, you get your cohort of your best customers that you have closed won, and you look at commonalities there.
Yeah.
Then you can build lead scoring off of that. Then you can let salespeople know, because now salespeople respect it too. We can say like, hey, based on customers that have closed and converted, I've applied that logic to a bunch of data that hasn't closed and converted to give you signals on when they do.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, now what's coming out, HubSpot's got this. I know Salesforce has Einstein or something. It's the AI thing where you don't even have to do that, where it will actually look for predictive machine learning.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So that's where we're going.
Yeah.
But that is right now, it's not as robust, I've seen, than you kind of doing that piece of work yourself. But that's where we're getting anyway.
Yeah, amazing. Cool, Mopes. That's really cool. Beautiful.
So that's it. Thank you if you're a first time listener, thank you so much. If you're a return visitor, well, thank you so much. Hope you have a great year ahead. And next year we'll join you for Inbound Buzz. And final thoughts from yourself, Linda.
It's been fun, Mopes. Yeah, everyone listening, have a beautiful rest of your year and we'll catch you next year.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening to Inbound Buzz. Learn anything? Return the favor by spreading the word. Want to make your mark in digital? Need help with your digital strategy, inbound, and marketing automation efforts? Then visit redpandas.com.au and be sure to tune in next time for another Inbound Buzz hit.